Time to paint Striking Scorpions from the Aeldari faction of Warhammer 40k. Hello and welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. In today's video we'll be painting up a Striking Scorpion Exarch from the Aeldari faction of Warhammer 40,000. This faction was one of my first ever factions that I really got into when I first joined the hobby back when I was about 10 or 11, and yeah, I thought I might as well get started on some Striking Scorpions. Now these sculpts are some of the newer sculpts, really nice sculpts as well, from the Kill Team box. And yeah, so this guy has got the dual biting blade. So without further ado, let's get into this video. Yes, and as per the intro, I shall be painting up this Striking Scorpion Exarch. I've been unable to do any painting recently. Had a bit of a hiatus with posting stuff with the birth of my second child, so I'll slowly get back into these videos. I'm doing this just as the new Aeldari Codex, 10th edition Codex is releasing, so I thought, why not start a video tutorial on one of my favourite aspect warriors. So here we are with the Striking Scorpion. The first thing I did was obviously build the model, take off as many of the seam lines as I could, and then he was base coated in Army Painter Skeleton Bone. It's sort of a bonish off-white colour, and then it was then targeted from the top with a zenithal of Army Painter Matte White to get the natural highlights in there. So the things we will need for this are a fine paintbrush, a wash brush like so. I'm using an Army Painter wet palette here, and obviously our paints, which would be various paints, mostly by Games Workshop. So without further ado, let's just get into painting Mr. Striking Scorpion. Okay, so the first paint we're going to go in is Citadel Colour Contrast Ork Flesh, and this is going to be all over the main armour of the model, trying to keep off like the weapons if possible, but if you do hit them, it's not the end of the world. As always, give your paint pot a good shake before applying. This helps the pigments all mix, and yeah. Okay, so you don't have to thin this or anything, just straight from the paint pot onto our mini, like so. Remember to always use your brush. If anything's pulled, use it, pull it away, and move it to another part of the mini. And then go back in, rinse and repeat. I will get this done, and then we shall be back. Okay, so next step is a contrast of Striking Scorpion Green. Now, this might seem a bit odd going over a darker colour, because usually you do it the other way around, but this is the way I've been doing it, and it seems to work alright. So, as always, give your paint a good shake. And we want quite a large brush here. And as per usual, we just slap it on. We don't want the paint to pull too much, so if there's any areas where it is getting too thick, we just get our brush and move it around the model until we're happy. I'll get that finished and we'll be back. Okay, so that's the Striking Scorpion Green done. Next we're going to go in with Biel-Tan Green, and this is going to darken it down a little bit more and tie those two colours together. Otherwise it'll be too bright. And again, just slap this over the whole model like so. If it pulls too much in any one area, just get your brush and pull it away as before. I will get this done and we will be back. Okay, and that's how it should be looking now. So next up we're going to go in with Moot Green, and this is going to start with the layers. So as always, give your paint a good shake. And we want a smaller brush for this. This is where we start utilising our wet palette. So thin it down with a little bit of water, and we're just going to start in and go highlighting on the edges. So we're going to go around the entire model with a nice highlight. I shall get this done and move it back. Okay, so that's how it is with the highlight so far. Next up, we're going to do a final highlight of Moot Green with some Averland Sunset at probably about 80 to 20 mix, 80 being the Moot Green and 20 being the Averland Sunset. We just want a nice bit of highlight like that. I use yellow because I prefer the colour of the highlight over like a pale sort of white highlight. So here we're just going to go even more sparingly on the edges and the parts that are facing your light source. So if you visualize the light coming down from above, you want it to focus on the more top parts of the model. Like so, I'll get this finished and we'll be back. Okay, so that's how he's looking so far. Next up, we're going to go in with Usatabi Bone, and this is going to be for the guns and also the anywhere there's like the surround of gems and stuff. So, for example, this bit here, around that part of the gem, then also the weapon itself. So the whole weapon, and we'll also be targeting these bits here, like the little clasps as well, and the grenade and the ammo on his side, and the clasps again this side, and the fitting for the gem. That's what we're going to hit with this colour. So I'll get that done and we'll be back. Okay, so next step, as you see there, that you took 2 coats to fill in most of the bone areas. Next step, we're going to go in with Mornefang Brown, and this is going to be all for the leathery bits, so pouches and any belts. Since the buckles have already been done in Usatabi Bone, we can just fill in these bits here. We want the pouches, like so, and the belt around the waist, so here. I'm not doing these bits, the bit around the arm or these bits, I'm not doing these in this colour because they will be a different colour, which we'll get to later, but get all them done and we'll be back. Okay, so that's all the leathery brown bits done. Next up, we're going to go in with Xereus Purple. Now this is where I'm going to put into effect my Craftworld colours. Since my Craftworld is a homebrew one, the colours are green and purple, a bit like the Ilkath. So I'm doing these bits to make these bits the other colours of my Craftworld, since it's mostly green already. For this I'm going to focus on like the sashes and these bits here and the hair, the dreadlocks as well. So I'll get all them done in Xereus Purple. So if you're Sam Hand, for example, you might want to do them in red, or Biel-Tan. They're already green, but maybe a white colour, or Aeldari Blue, but just to get some of that Craftworld colours in there. I'll get that finished and we'll be back. Okay, next up we're going to go in with a Retributor Armour, and this is going to be for all the gold parts. So I'll be focusing here on these bits of the chain blades, the fancy symbols on his helmet and on his chest, and anywhere else I think there might be gold. And for this we want to use quite a thin brush here, because we want as much control over this as possible, because we don't want to go over onto the green if we can avoid it. So as always, thin it down a little bit and just take your time here. Very carefully start filling in these bits here. I'll get this done and we'll be back. Okay, so next step is Contrast Black Legion. And this is going to be to painting parts of the Mandy Blaster, the face panel, and the blades of the chainsword. So the face panel bit I mean is this bit here. Again, you want a nice fine brush for this. We don't want to make any mistakes at this late stage. The Mandy Blasters here, this bit, these little bits here, and then the blades of the chain swords. I'll get that done, we'll be back. Okay, so as you can see, those blades are done with the black and the gold. Just take your time to tidy it up a bit, and you should have no issue. Next up, we're going to go in with Averland Sunset, and this is going to be on all the chevron-y bits on the armour. So I'm not going to go too mad here, but you want a nice fine brush for this. And like these bits on the crotch area, bits on the shoulder pads, right here. Just take your time, go slow. These bits on the back, like so. Oh, and these bits on the leg, like that. I'll get them done and we'll be back. Okay, so that's how he's looking so far. Next up, we're going to go in with the lead Belcher, and this is going to be for the blades on the chainsword. So for this, we're going to keep it as neat as possible. I'm going to use a nice thin brush here. And we're just going to take our time, as per usual, get a bit on our wet palette, tiny bit of water, and just take your time. Make sure that your bristles are sharp into a point, and just take your time like that. Get that done, we'll be back. Okay, so that's how he's looking now with all the base coats down, base colours. We will be going into the shading shortly, but one step I'm going to do before getting to it, I won't show me doing it, and it's quite an important step, is going back over all the previous colours, all the previous paints, and just tidying up. As you see, like for example here, some of the silver's gone over onto the black, so I'm just going to go in and with the black and tidy it up, and other bits and pieces where colours have probably mostly around the golds and the blacks where you'll be tidying up, but just go back over it all. If there's any darker colours showing through, like on these bits here or here, just go over with another coat just to tidy it up and get it ready for shading. I'll be doing that now, and we'll be back once that's done. Okay, so that's all the base colours tidied up to a nice decent standard. So next up, we're going to start on with our shading, and the first shade we're going to go in with is Druchi Violet, and you can probably guess this is going to be for all the purple areas. For this, I'm using a slightly larger brush to get better coverage. Don't need to thin this down or anything, so we don't need the wet palette for this. You just go straight from the pot. But before you get the paint out of the pot, make sure you give it a good shake so all the pigments can mix together properly inside the pot before applying. And then just take your time and apply it onto the parts of the model that you want it on. Just taking care that it doesn't pool too much in certain areas. You want something looking like that. I'll get that finished and we'll be back. Okay, so whilst we're waiting for the Druchi Violet to dry, we're going to go in with Nuln Oil, and we're going to put this on the blade of the chainsword. I'll advise here to put it over the black parts as well, just because it dries with a different finish to the Black Legion, so you'll be able to see it. You'll see where it has dried onto the black. So I would paint it over the entirety of the blade, the black parts. try and keep away from the golden bits, like so. Okay, so the final shade is Reikland Fleshshade, and this is for all the bone areas and the golds and the pouches, the browns. You could here use Seraphim Sepia, and I have done it in the past, but I actually find that this Reikland Fleshshade looks nicer when it's finished on golds and stuff, and I'm lazy, I can't be bothered to do too many steps, so feel free to change it up and use Seraphim Sepia if you want, but as I said, here I'm going to use Reikland Fleshshade, and this is going to be on all the bone colours and the pouches and the straps, and then those golds here up here. So I'll get that done and we'll be back. Okay, so that's all the shading dry. I've also gone in and started a little bit on the base, but we'll get to that towards the end of the video. So the next step we're going to do is Usatabi Bone, and this is going to be on all the wraith bone areas. So yeah, let's get started. As always, we're using a wet palette here. Keep sure paint's from drying out too quick. We're just going to take our time and just fill in. So I'll get that finished and we'll be back. Next step, we're going to go in with Flayedone Flesh, and this is going to be for even more sparing highlights on those same bits. So again, on the wet palette, and we're going to focus these towards the top where the light source will be shining down on them. That's it. That. And for the final highlight for the bone colours, we're going to go in with Morrow WHite from P3 formula, and we're going to mix this in on our wet palette with the previous step to get sort of a mid white, mid sort of highlight tone, because we don't want pure white. And again, this is going to be even more sparingly on the sharpest edges, facing the light source. So next up, we're going to go onto the leather. We're going to go back in with our base Mornefang Brown and our wet palette like that. And we want to leave the shade in the recesses, so we're just taking our time here. Again, use a finer brush for these sort of parts. Like so. Next we've got Tower Light Orhre, and we're going to get a bit on our brush and mix it in with the previous step with the Mornefang Brown on our wet palette, like so. This will give us a mid-tone, and this will be the next highlight for the pouches and stuff. Using this much more sparingly. Like so, and don't forget the belts and stuff. Like that. And finally, we'll go in with pure Tower Light Orhre as the final highlight for this, and this is literally just going to be very, very sparingly. Just a few dots and maybe a couple of lines, and then on the top of the belts. Very sparingly, like so. And there we have it. That's the brown's done. And for the purples, I'm going to go with Xereus Purple. This is the same as the leathers. We're going to go in with our original paint before it was shaded, like so. like that. And then we will grab a Genestealer Purple, and then this will be used to mix in on our wet palette with the previous step, and this will be used as the highlight, like so. I'll finish getting that done on the entire model. We'll be back. And final step is pure Genestealer Purple. And this is even more sparing. I say, just on the sharpest edges. The more sort of visual parts of the model. I say. For the black, so we're going to go with Dark Reaper. And just drag this along the sharpest parts. Not all the bobbly bits. That's it. Again, just take your time. You should have no issues whatsoever. Next highlight is Ulthuan Grey. I'm going to mix this in on our wet palette. Too much on my brush there. With the Dark Reaper. And this is even more sparingly. So, example on the face mask. That's it. On the Mandy Blasters. And then on the chain blades. Just like that. This is the gold, we're just going to go in back in with Retributor Armour. Just to tidy up some of the gold bits. Just to bring back that shine a little bit more. That's it. Again, just take your time because you don't want to be going down over onto any of the green or the other colours or the black. Just to bring that shine back to the gold. So. Next we're going to add a little bit of Runefang Steel into the gold that we just used. And that's just to get a nice light shining highlight onto the gold. I say, let's go too mad here. Less is more. Just brings out a nice shine. Like so. I'm going to go with Khorne Red for the eyeballs. So here you want a very fine brush, take time. Try not to get paint where you don't want it. So. And at this point you can start filling in some of the gems. So the ones that you want to do red, we'll use Khorne Red for the base for them as well. Like that. Don't have to go too mad with the gems. When I first got into Aeldari, I'd paint every single one of these little bubble things as gems. Now I've decided to rein it in a bit and just do a few of them. But go around and start filling in the gems where you want them, and we'll be back. Okay, so the next step for the gemstones is Mephiston Red, and this is going to be on the lower 2/3 of the gemstones. So We just want to go carefully, like so. I don't know how well you can see that. Let's get a good position here. Right, so focusing on the lower 2/3 of the gemstone, like that. And then we want to repeat this for all the gemstones. Like that. And finally, Fire Dragon Bright. This is going to be for the lower third of the gemstones and the eyes as well. I should mention a step before, we're doing the same on the eyes as well. So, for example, here we just want to put this on the lower section like that. Try that again. Let's take it slow here. Take your time, let's say. Want something that looks like that. And final part of the gemstones, we want to go in with Morrow WHite. This is the best white I've found on the market at the moment. It's a brilliant white, and we're going to get a little bit on our brush like so. And this is literally just going to be a little dot in the top left corner in the darkest section of the gemstone, and you should have something that looks like that. Quite quick and easy to do, very effective. We're going to do the same technique with other colour gems. I will show you in the next step the colours to use for that. Okay, so that's all the gems completed on him. So I've done blue gems and purple gems. Just a quick go over on what paints I use for those gems. I use the same technique as the reds, and I use these 3 paints for that. So Naggoroth Night, Xereus Purple, and Genestealer Purple, and then a dot of Morrow WHite. And then for the blues, I used Kantor Blue, Caledor Sky, and Lothurn Blue, using the same techniques as the reds again to get this technique, and with a dot of Morrow WHite. I will now go out into sorting out the bases, and we'll be back with a presentation, I suppose, of the finished model. And there you have it, all based up and ready for the tabletop. Hopefully you enjoyed this video tutorial of sorts. Quick and easy to do. You don't need a lot of skill, and hopefully it's easy enough to follow. And yeah, if you like this content, please consider subscribing and liking the video. And if you would like to support the channel, I will have my PayPal linked in the description. Anything on there will go into improving the quality of my videos. But yeah, thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.